Tottenham Hotspur 1, Manchester United 0, eh?
It was a letdown, wasn't it?
The donkey derby.
It was
Why was it
absolutely a
letdown?
donkey derby. That is definitely a donkey
And
derby.
it kind of, at one point, the people, it was a bit of a basketball match. It's back and forth. So give us more than a goal. For crying out loud. You've given us...
It's a basketball match.
Yeah.
It's going back and forward.
Yeah.
But the baskets have been removed. No one's scored a point.
Yeah.
What it is it's the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. Man United, the Washington Generals. Right.
Yeah.
But the Harlem Globetrotters have basically phoned it in. They're old.
Yeah.
They can't be bothered. You're fine,
And the whole basketball game is basically that clip of Drake trying to score a 3-pointer and not getting it anywhere near the basket.
Right, okay.
That's basically what it is.
No, it was more like that time Boris Johnson was trying to get a basket.
Yeah. Well, did he take out a kid?
That was rugby, wasn't it?
I know that was rugby and football. Was he taking out a kid in the basketball one as well?
Probably.
Yeah.
But he took a while, then eventually got there.
Boris Johnson possibly could get on the bench for this Man United team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And his kids.
less said about them.
Who cares?
Because
He's
we don't
got no
know.
money.
We don't know, do we?
He's got no money. We just don't know.
We can't comment on that because
How many
we
in the
simply
House of
don't
Lords?
know.
Who knows? Who knows? But I mean,
the
like,
Man United team. I'd probably in the House of Lords from this Man United team. You'd have Maguire in there for the experience.
I'm glad you said that. Actually, no. I'd have him in the
The Commons,
I'd have him as leader of the party.
yeah, Speaker of the House.
the right honourable member for Mykonos or whatever it was.
Oh my goodness, yeah, head of foreign affairs. That'll do.
Hitting the hammer off his head.
Well, anyway, Manchester United, they fall to 15th. They fall to 15th. They failed to score a first half goal in 15 of their last 16 games. Now, I understand that it is a game of two halves. So if you score like a load of goals in the second half, then you're okay. That stat is a bit misleading, but it's not misleading, is it? It isn't misleading.
No, it's
It was almost a nailed on 1-1 as well, because they had their chances as well. Man United.
It was an amazing game on one level because Tottenham, who won the game, deserve credit for winning it. Some wins have been at a premium for them recently, so fair enough, they won the game. But they were not capable of putting together a performance, and Man United just were not capable of taking advantage of it. It was mad how
the chances Man United missed.
Yeah, and then the takeaway for me after the game, Ruben Amorim, who is an absolute gem in an interview.
Yes,
he is a gem, and it's been overlooked a bit because United are so bad. But in the BBC post-match interview, he just went, "My job is so hard."
Oh, he did, didn't he?
Everyone can relate to that. Everyone can relate to it. Everyone on Sunday night, it's like, but me too, mate.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the guy. Imagine if he was still in Lisbon right now. It'd be a couple of degrees
lovely
warmer.
time.
It'd be,
Lovely time.
he's
Little
playing
pasta and natter.
Exactly, yeah. You guys, you're very adept at playing a back three. You know your jobs. There's not a gap the size of flipping the entirety of the pitch between the two central midfielders.
Drugs are legal. He's probably thinking that as well.
It's
a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah. Not for everybody.
It's Pete.
For the drug enthusiast.
Look at me. It's not a bonus for Pete.
Deflective, Pete. You said it.
I'm just saying, there are many, many reasons why living still in Lisbon and managing Sporting Lisbon would be better than being stuck in Manchester and looking after this rabble.
Yeah.
And part of it is because drugs are legal. It's a small part,
and you would need them, and you would need them if you're
it's
in.
the irony.
In
you need them in Manchester.
Exactly, need them in Manchester.
You can't get them.
I would say
you can get them in Manchester.
They're more ubiquitous, if anything else, and cheaper. I would say that Amorim made a big point that he just needs a few days to work on his players.
He always says that.
And in the same way that I was complaining to my partner that I really needed time to clean the picket fence at the front of my house with the pressure washer.
Yeah,
I did so. I took an hour out of a busy schedule over the weekend.
Don't blast over the Pampas grass.
Well, I splashed. I smashed
That's
the
a swingers gag for those who don't know.
Yes, thank you, Mags. Jesus Christ.
Would you like to see my pressure washer?
So I started smashing it with a pressure washer. About 3 of the pieces of wood just flew off. Absolutely rotted to the core.
But did they get
in
cleaned?
the same way that Amorim has had a week to play with to work on his players, they've all just bits of them have just fallen off.
Do you think that's what it is?
They're ruined.
Yeah,
They're absolutely ruined.
I like the Postecoglou versus Amorim, who's got the hardest job
injury
quote off as well, because they were both pretty down on how difficult it's been for them both, and Postecoglou was very, very keen to say that he's had it much harder than Amorim.
Well, I could see Ruben there, players out of position, kids on the bench. Welcome to my world, but that's for one game. Now do that for 2 months. I did think to myself, all right, Ange, well done.
And then Amorim just goes, "Oh, my job is so hard.
Yeah.
I can't. My job's hard enough as it is."
I think that Amorim, I don't think there's any danger of him being sacked, because I think that would be crazy. The performances and results have been poorer since he's taken over, but that's not his fault. But I think at some point into next season, it is going to have to improve.
Yeah, of course.
We all know that, but it wouldn't shock me at, say, the end of next season, maybe, to try and project that far. If it doesn't improve that much and so on, that Amorim could be the first one post-Ferguson to walk rather than be sacked. Because I think he's clearly a very good manager. What he's done in Portugal, very impressive.
Where did he do most of that work?
At Sporting Club of Lisbon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what the heads call it. Yeah.
Andy Brass was listening to this. He's doing his head, and that's why we're doing it. Exactly. Yeah.
He's safely ensconced in Germany.
He is.
And for all the other virgins who get upset about this kind of thing.
There's no need to go after people's sexual history.
No, there's no need to.
There's a lack of sexual history.
Exactly. There's nothing there. Can't. Yeah.
You're a vendetta against Sir Cliff Richard knows no bounds. But
that is true, by the way. It does know no bounds.
But anyway, so yes, with Amorim, whatever happens at Manchester United, however long he is there, he will go. If he turns it round, my goodness, that's incredible. There are question marks on whether he can do that, not because of his ability, but because of the ridiculous situation.
I understand the point you're making.
Yeah, but so he'll go on, but we do need to see a little something, surely. And I'm just surprised that we've not seen anything. It really is bad.
It is really bad. I think you do have to, in the situation that he's come into, you do have to just say, look, get through the season.
Yeah.
Get in the summer.
Don't get us relegated.
Big talk. Luckily, there's so much more incompetence in the Premier League, so they'll be fine. But the big talk that he's putting out there now means that obviously he's going to have to, he's going to have the money to cover those checks he's writing now in the summer with this team. But I was fuming at this game. I mean, I was promised a circus. And I was not given any... Do some juggling or something.
Garnacho's finishing was a bit off.
It was. That was brilliant. That was definitely for the circus.
Yeah, because obviously one of their brightest sparks, generally speaking, Garnacho, when he's kind of doing that, you think, blimey, O'Reilly.
But he can't catch a break.
No, he can't. But what I find intriguing, though, is Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes are very experienced midfielders, and I know that if they're used to playing in a certain way and so on, that you can have an off day and you can be bad. But the gap between those two, like it really was. I mean, Manchester United, the midfield has been
a real problem.
It's been, you could drive a fleet of buses through it at any point of this season and maybe even last season and so on. But I'm just intrigued. I'm sorry to sort of go on about this. But Amorim knows way more than football than any of us will ever know. Those two are so experienced.
Well, he was challenged on this in the post-match interview by the Sky Sports reporter who said, look, you're obviously exposed. You lost the game and you've lost so many games. Did you not think to just play in a low block, bung a lot of people behind the ball, just see if you could play on the break or whatever? And Amorim gave like a really technical answer. Did you see it? He kind of said, but for the way Spurs play, that would have made it harder for us for this, that and the other reason. So I think he's convinced himself, in a weird way, same way as Postecoglou has, he's convinced himself that this is the way to play. Mm-hmm. He's probably, I don't know, he's probably in a mindset where he's like, you know what? The more I do this, the more they're going to see that we need players.
Yep.
And the more that they're going to have to understand that we need to strengthen. The problem might well be that you wouldn't trust the hierarchy at United to necessarily strengthen, because they seem to be all about saving money. They seem to be all about putting statements out now saying if we don't sack another 100 people because of the Glazers, we're going to be bankrupt.
Because they're going to have to sell in the summer, and everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So if Anthony moves on, which he may well do, and if Rashford, but the thing is,
who's left realistically?
Well, indeed, but the thing is though, if you want to buy those players, you'll say, all right, we'll give you 25 million. Well, hang on a minute, but we bought him for.
It's tough.
Give a shit. This is what you got to do. Rashford as well. A lot of these players. So they're in a terrible situation.
And don't forget also the injury point, Marcus. This does play into it a bit.
Sure.
You talk about you're playing Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro in the middle of the park. partly because he has to. I mean, there's no other players he can play in there.
Yeah,
he can change the formation.
Sure, but those two are very adept at
Casemiro's got no legs. He hasn't had legs for a long time.
Did you see that when he got pushed over?
Yeah. He went from... Yeah.
He's a penalty.
That's going to take me ages to get back up again.
I would say, as I've said before, that to me felt a bit like he's had a fall.
Yes, it did.
You know, at some point you get to the age of between falling over and having a fall.
Yes, that's right.
That felt like he's had a fall.
If Casemiro had a fall, he did have a fall.
So I think Amorim, he is up against it. It has been bad. You're right to say that, and he has cut a very forlorn figure, and he said some odd things. But I think he's coming to the biggest club he's ever worked at by some distance. He's in a foreign country. The situation is really, really bad, which is why he's in there in the first place. I mean, Andy, I think it was, or one of us said, a while back, he probably felt like he couldn't turn it down because it's such a big job, but he would have liked to have taken it at the start of the summer.
He would have done.
When he can get out and go, right, this is what we need. This is what we've got to work with. And but the thing is, weirdly enough, yesterday wasn't even necessarily about that, in my view. It was about two actually quite poor teams who... One of which took a chance, and Maddison, popped up with a really good moment where he anticipated. He was Johnny on the spot, and he was quicker in mind than anyone else, and he deserves a credit for a goal. 9 goals in the Premier League this season, by the way, which is surprising to see. I had a bit of a pop at him a week or two ago.
Was he responding to you as well as Roy Keane?
Well, you know what he's like. He likes to. He likes to
talk and play darts.
Read about himself. I doubt he listened to this. But he's their top scorer, and for someone who seems so inconsistent, and for someone that seems you can't really rely on him, does seem to get quite a few goals, and that was a good goal. He was a difference. But the point I was just going to make was, it came down to United's finishing, really.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
And when you talk about someone like the aforementioned Alejandro Garnacho, potentially being moved on for PSR reasons because it's all profit and all the rest of it. You think, oh, well, why the hell would they do that? Yeah. You see him yesterday and you think, well, can they do better?
Well, and really sad news for Man United, of course, was that Amad Diallo, obviously the news broke
that hurt
a
them
while ago.
massively.
Yeah, he could miss the rest of the season after suffering an ankle ligament injury in training. I mean, he was the one that had really was showing something, and now, bloody hell! If it doesn't just rain, it pours, doesn't it? I mean, it was interesting what Amorim said before the game. I can understand the connection between me and Ange. We have the same problems, with all due respect. I'm a bigger club with bigger pressure, which perhaps prompted Ange to respond.
I love it. I love the idea of a massive war of words between two managers that no one cares about. Just doing like a proper tribute act to Mourinho and Wenger.
Yes,
that.
I mean, look, it's a win for Tottenham Hotspur, though. Is it something small to build on? It was 1 or 2 people back from injury, or do you still worry about poor old Ange?
Well, just simply the way that he rides his team like a rental car at every opportunity.
He's not even looking at the mileage.
He's not even looking at the mileage. He's very heavy-footed.
Yeah. Did you just
put in diesel in it?
I don't know, something. Let's just go.
Washing up liquid sugar. He's just putting what out. I've heard it's going to be. It helps the car, mate. But I mean, like,
he's taking the rental car to a demolition derby.
He's got a resurgent Man City on the horizon. Bournemouth as well.
No, they're going to lose at Ipswich.
Full force Fulham, a derby at Chelsea. That's your next 4 or 5 fixtures. It'll be good to get a few points in the back end of February and the start of March. I would suggest.
Yeah, they needed to win this one, especially with all the teenagers and Victor Lindelof on the bench for Manchester United. It would have looked particularly bad.
Yeah,
if
they need to hammer
one.
Ipswich next week.
Particularly given the protest as well.
Well, indeed, yeah. Daniel Levy can't get a break, can he?
I know. No. Just leave him alone. Stop bullying him.
Well, that's it. More than 1,000 Tottenham supporters protested against Levy and the club's ownership ahead of the game.
Which shows you how bad things have got on the pitch and how tired they are of this endless cycle of being underwhelming, given that it's quite I saw some footage of it and it cut quite an interesting scene because they're basically protesting outside a state-of-the-art world-leading stadium.
which is the envy of pretty much the football world in Europe.
And which this regime has delivered to them.
Yeah.
Right. And I know they pay for it, and I know the season ticket prices are high, and I know that it's that's not the point. But it is kind of interesting, I felt like, because I actually think the protest, totally legitimate. If you want to protest by all means. Stuff on the pitch has been farcical, totally get it. But there's something interesting about how much they're prepared to look past that big stadium. It's literally in the background of some of the shots and not care about it because what they care about is the players. And the performances and the manager and all the rest of it. And I just found that quite interesting because what Levy has done off the pitch has been amazing, right? Mm-hmm. But on the pitch, it's just such a big juxtaposition. It's like the biggest gap between off pitch and on pitch success you probably would have seen. I can think of in the Premier League, So it was an interesting situation. I would just like to reserve a little bit of praise as well, if I may, for just going back to the game itself, for Jed Spence.
Oh yes,
who did really well.
They did make the point after the match, though, that he did very well because of how poor Man United had been in that particular part of the pitch as well.
Maybe, but he's been good overall.
He's been excellent,
he's picked up, quite a number of Player of the Match awards now.
Yeah.
Given the way he came to the club, and Conte was actually quite disrespectful about him, called him a club signing rather than a manager signing, farmed him out on loan. He hasn't really played.
Good old Conte.
And bearing in mind that also the majority of his performances this season have come at left back. He's a naturally right-footed player and a natural right back. I take your point, Pete. That is a caveat to it for sure, because he probably wasn't up against a huge amount, but.
Credit where credit's due.
He's been consistently good, and he's been a bright spot. And the great thing about him is he's still relatively young, like 24 years old. The thing that you would take credit from or positivity from if you're Spurs is you can rely on these amazing young players they've got, like Bergvall, Gray, Spence. These players have been good despite everything, and that's one thing you kind of lean on off the back of a win, because a win against the Man United team will always be a big win, right? It's just how the Premier League is, right? So I just wanted to give him a bit of credit. I didn't want to go unsaid.
Yes, indeed.
Well done, Jed.
Yeah, well done, Jed. No, and of course he was a part of a back four which looked a bit more recognisable for Tottenham Hotspur.
Kind of. Davies in there. Danzo, who's obviously one of their signings.
Pedro Porro was back.
He was. Vicario back in goal as well, which is an interesting one because I thought Kinski's done really well.
I thought Kinski did okay. Yeah. I mean, but the fact is though that yes, it is encouraging for Spurs, and I understand they've had a lot of injuries and da. But Manchester United probably should have got something out of this game.
They should have, and that's part of the problem.
That is part of the problem. Another part of the problem at Manchester United is
Manchester United
is those with big stakes in the club. An email at Manchester United that was asking staff not to leak things has been leaked quite wonderfully.
Well, I'm leaking that.
Yeah. What did you expect? What did you expect? Staff have been warned by senior management that leaks over Ineos's cuts are damaging to colleagues and the wider club. I would argue that the cuts are damaging to the club and the wider the colleagues.
Imagine old Ratcliffe just putting them all in. So I've noticed that since I've spent the last 6 or 9 months treating you with no respect whatsoever, you seem to be treating me with quite a lot of disrespect.
Yeah. Stop having to go to the chopping block, because the chopping block is people's going to not like the chopping block.
Yeah. Stop putting these leaked emails through the chopping block, 'cause that's my chopping block. Yeah. And it's covered in blood. Yeah.
What are they like?
Fucked.
What I would say to any members of staff at Manchester United, like, just all of you as one leave.
Leak as much as you can. No, leak as much as you can first.
Yeah. Steal every laptop.
Leak and then leave. And
hang on, don't steal every laptop.
Steal every laptop.
That's they get them in trouble.
Pull the copper out of the fucking walls.
We don't want them to get in trouble, though, do we?
Well, if you all do it, it's like credit card fraud. If we all stop paying our bills.
There you go. What would be amazing, and I understand it doesn't work.
You are dressed like someone who's exactly have that opinion.
Well, I understand it doesn't work like this, but it would be superb if the Man United staff and those who work at the club just started popping up at other clubs around the country, around Europe, and we're having a brilliant time. Just like the players.
I love the idea of Garnacho being moved on for PSR reasons.
Yes.
And when he's filmed leaving the club, he opens his boot like when Barnes and was it Barnes and McManaman?
Oh, I don't remember.
It was Barnes and someone at Celtic. McAteer. Barnes and McAteer. They got filmed leaving the club at Celtic when they were managers because they were terrible. And McAteer, I think it was famously putting a bike in the back of the car. Right. I love the idea of Garnacho doing the same, but he opens the boot of his car, it's just full of copper. He's stolen from Old Trafford.
Ethernet cables.
Yeah, a panel from the roof. Oh, there's another hole.
Right. Promise.
Coming up after this, Manchester City proved us wrong against Newcastle.
I used to get invited to a Sunday lunch. All his family and his wife was there. I was the only one who wasn't part of the family. And he said, pointing at Ghislaine, she is the only person in this room apart from me with any balls. I'll never, ever forget that.
Do you think Robert Maxwell was evil?
He was pushed over.
Pushed over by?
Mossad.
It's good to hear the full
Straight
thing.
to the full thing.
It's good to hear the full thing.
Just a reminder.
Just a reminder.
Marcus didn't know that was the button, did you?
No.
That was a surprise to you, wasn't it?
out.
That's a lovely Monday
Yeah.
surprise. My goodness. Oh dear. Lovely in inverted commas.
It's an amazing clip because all the way through it, you're thinking, why is this happening? Why is this happening?
Manchester City 4. Pete Donaldson's Newcastle United 0.
Yeah.
So what happened there then?
I didn't expect this. Yeah. I didn't expect this.
You should have expected
Is there a cup final coming up?
given how bad they are against Man City. But we thought it'd be different on Friday, didn't we? We said,
they're going to overrun them in midfield and so on. And oh my goodness, they really didn't fancy it.
They really did double up on Isak, which really blunted any sort of impetus that Newcastle may have had. But they did not look up for it at all.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I understand.
Pressurised.
Yeah, Man City, look, as we say, they're still a good team. They've still got very, very good players.
Well, it's like Man City's Jacob Murphy is Jeremy Doku. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is the difference fundamentally. But form coming into this match.
Murphy he didn't even play, did he?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, he did play. Yeah, he
he
didn't do much
started.
of this. Yeah.
I did, because I looked into this and I thought, is the cup final next week? No, it isn't.
It's a month away.
So they've got Forest at home next weekend.
Yeah.
I think it's March 15th, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not for a little while. That's what I mean. I thought, blimey.
But I don't think
are Forest going to fill their boots?
A lot of people said that about it's a cup final, blah blah blah. Like,
It isn't for a while.
Newcastle's record at City is
It's
appalling.
atrocious,
Like,
yeah,
they've won
yeah.
there for like 25 years or something ridiculous.
And I think maybe because Man City have just been so imperious, against everyone at the Etihad, they probably sort of think that, it's not an issue, everybody gets beaten. But in this run of form for Man City, you expected to just at least be able to
Well,
lay
but
a
it's
club. I think we
something.
had one shot on target, it was Lewis Miley.
But it was so bad. It felt like that Newcastle were relegation fodder
do you know
in this game.
Do you know what it felt like to me? It felt like they were playing Newcastle were playing against the idea of Man City rather than Man City.
Yeah, but I would have thought, again, the way Howe's got them going in recent months and so on, and old Tyndall with his Wham hoodie and so on, that they would have shown a lot more. But it was just such an opportunity. I mean,
lack
Alan
of
Shearer,
intensity, very high line as well.
totally. Shearer was
kind of-
baffled about this on Match of the Day and quite scathing, understandably so. But it was as if this is our last game of the season, not much to play for. It was such a strange performance.
Man City were good. I mean, Newcastle's main thing is we're going to rake our studs down the back of your leg.
Yes.
But it's quite hard to do that if you don't get close to them. So
Well-
with Man City's passing, Newcastle didn't really get the chance to sort of intercept, really.
Did they forget that Man City had signed Marmoush? Is that what it was? They were
Yeah, it's
hey, we didn't plan
yeah.
for him. Who's he? When did he join?
He's a new one.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny how these people talk about the Guardiolaization of football? And Jonathan Wilson had a piece in the weekend.
Yeah, very good piece. Yeah.
Talking about how you go down to the very small, low levels of football and they're all playing like that. I've said it before on this show. Go and see Gosport Borough. They want to play out from the back. That's the big thing.
You
right?
can even go further. Grassroots. I noticed it when I was playing.
Right,
Yeah.
and then Edison does what he does.
Some Route 1 stuff.
Yeah, and he's got the record for the most assists of a goalkeeper.
But it doesn't matter
And
how
he's
much
a
you
massive long
pressurise.
I mean, he's a brilliant passer of the
Edison,
ball, so that's
yeah.
probably why, isn't it? It's probably why, because he's more accurate with his passing. But ultimately, that goal,
It wasn't against Real Madrid.
was it? No,
It was against Trippier,
but
just
was
jumped
it-
up and missed it.
but was it Marmouche's first goal?
That's right, when he lobbed the keeper.
Yeah,
Beautiful finish.
It's a lovely finish. There's absolutely no way on earth, though, a decent level defender should be conceding like that.
Well,
true.
it's a shame for Trippier because he's been a great player over the years and he was brilliant when he first joined Newcastle. What a big part of one of the reasons why they kind of emerged into the side that they kind of are now and thought of. But he did want to move, didn't he?
He did want
was
to
it in
move,
the
yeah,
summer,
he was
in
gonna-
last summer.
I think they wanted him to sort of work on Livramento a little bit, who, again, his form's massively dropped off. And when Trippier's come back into the side, I was a massive proponent of it because he just looked like he's just so much of a better leader on the pitch, really. And he's better going, his dead ball delivery is very good, obviously, but he can defend as well. But at that point, he was sort of left a bit exposed, really. Dan Burn probably would have been more use at that point, and Trippier just misjudged the bounce of the ball. And yeah, so it was a real shame.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I wonder if, with Trippier when he retires from international duty, as he was pushing for a move, has he just sort of mentally and emotionally just sort of right? I'm very much in the twilight. Of
You
my
can
career
see him
here.
leaving for free in the summer, can't you?
Yeah, well, I think
He's got another year. He's got another year.
after
So
that, yeah.
geez, it'll be next summer then. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why he doesn't just sort of retire at Newcastle, because I think he could nail down that position, because, as I said, Tino's just not really sort of come as good as you would expect him to. After a really, really good start. But this could get quite messy for Newcastle. They've got some really difficult fixtures coming up, and that could cost them a run of form into the Carabao Cup final, which you're going to need, really.
And I think also we would, when Newcastle hit form up until the loss against Bournemouth, which kind of felt like a bit of a blip, and Bournemouth have been so good, you think, well, okay.
Can happen, yeah.
I think everyone was thinking, right, well, they're nailed on to finish in the top 4, top 5. You know,
we're going to do a bit on that tomorrow, aren't we?
We are going to do a bit of that. But now, I mean, okay, they lost to Fulham, but I mean, that can happen. But yeah, you're just beginning to think, okay, but look, they're in the cup final. There's still a lot to play for.
They've got this performance in them, I think.
But I felt like, Pete, they like I said, they played against the idea of Man City rather than Man City, and evidence for that would not just be the first goal. You know, fine. Trippier makes a mistake. It's a mismatch. Maybe it was clever by Man City to pair him up when and Marmoush gets the better of him, but they didn't recover at all.
The second goal,
Marmoush scores again straight away, and then again 10 minutes later.
The third goal, the guy's already scored 2 goals, and he's unmarked. About 8 yards out.
Exactly,
Come on,
yeah.
You've got to do a bit better there. Now, I've been obviously. I'd say scathing. I mean, just saying that I thought, Guardiola should have moved on. I still hold to that, but obviously the Rodri injury has been a big part of this. And I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. It has been a case of the Swiss cheese effect with Manchester City. A lot of things going wrong, and suddenly the disbelief creeps in. You suddenly think, well, actually, we're not bulletproof, we're not imperious, and da-da-da-da-da. It'll be interesting to see the effect that Nico Gonzalez has in this side. Obviously, against Leyton Orient, had to go off. He didn't play against Real Madrid, but he was brought in. And as Guardiola said, called him a mini Rodri. Obviously,
big confidence booster for him.
Yeah, well,
you're not as good as him.
Yeah, but the reporter said, I mean, that is a compliment. Oh, yeah, no, it is a compliment, right? Well, just in case Rodri is watching, we're trying to help you out here, Pep. But he was excellent in that role, and so as poor as Newcastle were, he and Manchester City were good, and it's a much better performance from them, of course. So with Marmoush coming in and scoring that hat-trick, gives him the world of confidence. He looks very, very sharp indeed. Gonzalez as well. We said that, this is not a rebuild. It felt like a little bit knee-jerky and sort of slight panic buying in January, which I think it was. But
Andy seems to think they're players they wanted anyway, but they've got them earlier and they've overpaid for them because of that reason.
Okay, so it's probably okay. So that's a good take. I think we'll go with that. But these early signs, that's not too shabby.
No,
Luke.
I think you're right. Gonzalez is definitely his best performance so far at City. It was always going to be an adjustment period. I said what I said about him on his debut. I'll stand by that. But obviously, it was always going to take a bit of time to adjust coming from Porto. Was it 1 season at Porto? I think it was something like that, maybe a bit longer.
He's still very young.
Premier League's a very different beast, and obviously he's still young. He's got a lot to learn. But yeah, again, you talk about a confidence booster for Marmoush, confidence booster for Gonzalez as well. Because I don't mean this to take anything away from him, but he'd have been delighted not to be up against like Joel Linton. He'd have been delighted to be against a team who just really didn't turn up. I mean, because Tonali's had a really good season overall, pretty anonymous. Both Willock and Guimaraes, who played in the midfield as well, both got subbed off and had to be replaced. So it would have felt like a really nice afternoon for him.
That's what I mean. It was just a sort of a malaise over the whole team.
It's hard to know where Man City are after this result, really. I mean, the scoreline flatters, I think, in many ways.
Well, you're going to find out this week.
Well, I think Man City, I suspect what they'll probably do is what Liverpool kind of did under Klopp when they were having an off season, if you see what I mean. Now, I don't, as I've bored you all to tears with, I don't think this is an off season for Man City. I think they'll be better next season, but again, under Pep, I think that the imperious nature of what they had and that sort of just unbeatable kind of vibe, I don't think they'll get that back. But I think what they might do is rally and just about get in the top 4. When you see, Forest were very poor against Fulham, we'll come on to them, and one or two other sides, Villa kind of coughing and spluttering Newcastle. I think there is a real chance here for Man City to go, do you know what, we've been poor. We have been poor this season, no doubt about that, by their own lofty standards, but they're 4th. And I think that they will probably just clinch it, because if they didn't finish in the Champions League, that would be a disaster. But we will talk more about that on tomorrow's show for your Tuesday treat here at the Football Ramble. And one thing I want to bring people's attention to is Erling Haaland posting a picture of himself eating a massive lamb chop after the game.
That looked lovely.
And it looked like he was still in his kit.
Can you have a tomahawk lamb chop?
It would appear you can.
Big old lamb.
Yeah, a friend of mine ate one of those tomahawk, steak things recently.
Right,
and you know me, I'm not one to sort of give in to peer pressure or be sort of impressed by such things. And I looked at that.
Eat the meat, Marcus.
Bring
eat
it
the meat.
Here. And I did look at that, and I was like, I'm slightly intimidated and in awe that he's just done that. It was magnificent.
Did he finish it?
Of course he did.
Nice.
Of course he did.
I think a lot of top athletes have to take on board quite a lot of protein as soon as possible after they finish.
Apparently he eats 6,000 calories a day.
Wow, that is a lot.
Regularly eats cow heart and liver.
Blimey,
Nice.
okay, yeah.
He goes up to the cow and he does some sort of Mortal Kombat thing. I'll have those.
I was watching like a stupid food influencer on like a flight. And
Oh, the one that looks like you.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like
Is it
me?
him?
Oh, not him. I forget his name now.
Joshua
Weissman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
look him up.
bloke
It's a
who-
treat.
He's like on a flight, and he's like, and he's waited until the person served his dinner, and he's just got like a bag of mints or something, and he's just eating like raw mints, and he's going, look at this, look what I'm doing.
Yeah, there was a phase where a lot of influencers went through that kind of only eating raw beef and butter.
The old Liver King guy.
Yeah.
He was found to be not just consuming liver.
I think it was $10,000 of steroids a month.
Yeah,
I think it was.
that's
something
too
like that.
many, isn't it?
Yeah.
But all
Get
you
'em
needed is a
cheaper.
bifter.
Cheaper.
Oh dear. Well done, Erling, with your big lamb chop. It did look very, very good indeed.
Yeah, he said, I love Indian food the most. I love lamb chops and I love butter chicken. They're my two favourites, and I like a garlic naan.
Is that right?
Nice.
You'd think that would be a Jamie Vardy quote,
Yeah.
but it's an Erling Haaland quote apparently.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I eat 6,000 calories a day. There's nothing impressive about that.
But that's all through cake and croissants.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
that is quite impressive. Yeah.
Exclusively, yeah. Yeah, I'm on the cake and croissants diet.
Mate, I tell you, get me involved.
I had a croissant.
Can you send me the plan?
I bit a croissant that had been discarded in a bin over the weekend. And I was like, that's just a low point for me, but it was
Hang
so
on.
delicious. It looked so delicious.
This is where, Luke, that I let myself down because I sort of think I'm going to ask a supplementary question.
Do you know what my first thought
and
was?
I always let myself
Do you know
down.
what my
doing that.
instinctive thought was when he said that? Straight away I thought, who's been?
His bin. That was my bin. It had just been discarded. And I was like, I'll just have a little nibble.
Who discarded it? Or do you not know these people?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, before we go for a break, I just want to mention Arsenal.
Yes.
And more specifically, Mikel Merino. I think we have to, don't we?
Yeah.
A guy who's never played up front, apparently, or he said maybe when I was 8 or 9 years old or something, and yet he looked very accomplished in that role. We know he's good for a header, as the Euros proved.
It'd be an amazing plot twist if he was the guy who just
come
be
on.
their new guy.
Fired them to the title.
Yeah,
but-
he couldn't quite find the pace in midfield for the Premier League, and then
Yes.
suddenly he's just sort of doing that.
It was stunning stuff because
Yeah.
the way he played up there, and even obviously very happy to celebrate, but the whole package, I thought, okay, this guy, he's been deployed, he knows what he's doing. It's like, nope, never did, and they needed that
It's
badly.
easy. Imagine he went, this is easy.
Is
I
this
could
it?
do this all day.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is they're relying on Raheem Sterling to do it.
Yeah,
Otherwise.
poor old Raheem.
But in his last season at Sociedad, Maria did get a goal or two. He did suddenly pop up from midfield with a goal. And they're not the first goals he scored for Arsenal either this season. So he obviously has got it in him to nick one. I'd just love it it'd be such a good plot twist if he now plays up front every game and fires them to some kind of amazing season.
I mean, it could be the situation where they then go, all right, we'll try you up there, and it's just a
It's
disaster.
just absolute disaster.
It was just the
Yeah.
fact that you come on into the second half against Leicester.
People are tired,
Yeah, all that kind of
find
stuff.
some space.
Turns out he's working for midfield-based goal bonuses. He doesn't get as soon as he can
Do I still get the same
striker?
midfield
Yeah, do I
goal
still get the
bonus?
same
Yeah.
bonus?
Yeah.
I wonder whether there's a lot to be said about that. That kind of idea that you bring a player on like that, he finds spaces. He's quite good at finding space.
Yes.
And he's up against a team who are struggling in the league, who are really tired. It kind of makes sense.
It does.
But that sounds like me being wise after the event because I didn't know it was going to happen.
But I think if he then starts the next game and so on, I don't know. We will see. But you're right. It's a very specific situation and team he came on against. But he got the goals and he dedicated the goals to his wife because he forgot to get her something on Valentine's Day.
Oh, Mikel.
that'll make up for it.
Yeah, well, I think it will.
A couple of bonuses.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. And the way the second one went, it was just like, easy peasy. It's
Just
Pete,
pressure washer your fence.
what did you get for your partner for Valentine's Day?
A card that had a vibrating bottom on it. It
Was it at the bottom of the card or there was an arse on
there was
it?
an arse on it.
Okay.
It goes and sort of vibrates.
Yeah.
Come free with Viz, did it?
Johnny Fart Pants.
They sold out of Buster Gonad ones. All right. Coming up after this, Fulham got their first home win of the year.
do the Loro again.
No, I can't.
No. Mossad.
Mossad.
Here we are, everybody. Fulham 2, Nottingham Forest 1. Yes, their first league win at Craven Cottage in 2025.
Which tells its own story, right?
Well, it does a bit, yeah. I mean, Fulham, they're having a good season, as we all know, but they
could be having a better one.
well,
They could be having a Nottingham Forest. They could be having a Bournemouth, couldn't
They
they?
concentrated on their forest-based life, not forest, cottage-based life.
it's true.
They're fine in the forest. Always.
Absolutely
Speaking
right.
of
yeah.
forest, a very muscular squirrel found his nut. Traore, bit of end product. Finally,
I blue plaque that cross.
It was that cross to Emile Smith Rowe. My goodness,
it was a brilliant cross, and it was it wasn't impossible to not score, but the cross was so good that it was very inviting, to say the least. That's
Mo Salah-esque, you could say.
That's the best cross Adama Traore's ever done in his career. Has to be.
One of them.
Has to be the best.
Do you know what?
ever.
He was actually flighting them into Raul Jimenez, who is, as I've said to you before, this season is really amongst it. I mean, he's playing, dare I mention his name again, he's doing the Mitrovic stuff pretty well,
right.
Really kind of trying to bully the defenders, getting up and on. And heading the ball but going back to Traore, and I'm glad it was shown on Match of the Day because I was at the game and it was at the end of the pitch where I sit. He has Nico Williams, who, let's be honest, was glad that game was over.
Yeah,
and Williams is no slouch for crying out.
No,
loud. He's a good player. He's a great season, and he's not slow, is he?
No.
But Traore, that moment where he gets the ball on the corner of the box, and you can see the Traore's eyeing it up, thinking, I'll get to the byline.
Yeah.
And as he knocks it, there's not that much room.
No.
As he knocks it,
you think he's going out of play?
In my head, I just sort of went, do you know what I mean? Like, I was a bit like, what'd you do?
I remember the exact passage.
Yeah, exactly. And my heart just sort of went, damn, you're having a good game. Like, you're never going to get that. And by Jove,
he got it by quite a while.
He got it. Yeah. And when you
got
see
it quite easily.
Mate, honestly, I was so impressed. When you see, like excellence in the flesh, it's quite rare.
Yeah.
I was just like, that is magnificent.
Yeah.
I was so aroused, Pete Donaldson. Like it was incredible. And the thing is with Traore, obviously much has been made of the stuff he needs to work on, but he is a very effective player when he's on form, and Silva has done that with him. He had injury trouble as well, early on in his time at Fulham and so on, and Harry Wilson had kind of broken into the side as well due to his impressive performances and goals in especially in vital moments. But Wilson got injured, and Traore is in there, and like he's a weapon, and I think that he just gives. He came on the other day. Or I think was it against Manchester United, whoever it was, and he made a difference. He didn't score, and but again, it's that kind of
because
I say chaos factor. It's not that.
It's intimidation.
Yeah, with that pace,
every player is terrified of pace.
Yeah,
and he's really, really strong as well.
Yeah, and what he's doing now is again get to the byline, putting those crosses in. Fulham, they love crossing the ball. I think they may well even be the most crossy side in the league. They're up there, and you don't often think about that really, or people may not.
What about when David Moyes managed Man United? That was amazing.
Which was against Fulham. That's where they learned it from. They thought this
can work for us.
Which is why it's been important that Jimenez has kind of got up to speed with that. But he is an asset to the side, and again, it's credit to Silva for getting him in there. And another day might have scored as well. A man who did score quite predictably was Chris Wood, and I was sat there with my mate, and as soon as the ball, there was that little bounce around. He's like, don't let him.
There you go.
He is so lethal. I know it takes a nick off the defender, but really though, the story of this game was, Fulham were good. Forest, desperately poor.
Yeah.
A very, very uncharacteristic performance from them. Now I know they got whooped by Bournemouth not that long ago. But
they were really poor. They were really poor.
This was like Fulham were playing against the side again in the relegation zone, who they just thought, do you know what, we'll bully these. We'll be on the front foot. And that goal that Smith Rowe scores, it was almost the perfect goal. 10 out of the 11 players, including the goalkeeper, touched the ball on the way. That shows you the space they were given. They didn't really do one thing or the other. I know Forest had their injuries, and they looked better when Hudson-Odoi came on to form a more kind of usual traditional front three, but very, very poor.
Well, it's a really interesting result for the top of the table.
Yeah,
because it gives Man City like a massive amount of hope to move up even higher than fourth. They're only 3 points behind Forest now, and Fulham's season is such a weird situation because if I was a fan of Fulham, I would be simultaneously very happy with how things are going. They haven't finished higher than 8th. I think probably since they were under Hodgson.
Yeah,
0809, so
maybe. Yeah, like you go back a couple of decades.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's amazing for them to be up there, but at the same time, you've got that period of play where they drew like 5 Premier League games out of 6. And one of those was at home to Southampton. One of them was at home to Ipswich. One of them was at home to Bournemouth. Okay, they're a good side, but at the same time, Fulham, if they could really genuinely make Craven Cottage that proper fortress that say Forest have, they could be top 4. It could be a top,
especially
this season.
It's there for the taking.
It's
And
there
especially,
for them,
and we'll
yes.
come on to it on tomorrow's show, but there's just never been a better chance to be in Europe,
Exactly.
and they loved Europe last time.
That's right.
They
Yeah.
did.
No, you're right. There is a real
Until they
chance.
bumped into end of level boss Diego Forlan.
That's right.
Yeah,
that is
that
right.
was basically what it was. Wasn't
Yeah, well, I mean, they did get back in the Europa League again after that, but
Yeah.
but
I think I just expected a bit more competitiveness from Forest, because I mean this is
Pete, they were really poor.
This is the battle of two managers who can't actually cut it at Premier League level actually. And it's just kind of like it was that, and
Both
you
Portuguese
expected
as well.
Portuguese as well.
As I say, Iberia is where is the brain of football right now.
Yeah.
You could argue it has been for a little while, but definitely.
Well, unless you're watching a couple of Man United players. But,
Yeah, he's letting the side down. Yeah. Going back to Fulham, though, you see, they've done the double over Newcastle this season. Forest, they've beaten Chelsea, drawn at Anfield, drew with Arsenal.
Yeah.
But as you said, they draw at home at Southampton, when they draw at home with Ipswich.
I always feel like, and then maybe Fulham fans will scream at me for saying this, so I do say it a fair amount. It always feels to me like they occasionally just look past games that aren't glamorous.
Well, this is the thing with, I think.
And I look at Marco Silva and I think, you got a bit of that about you. You've definitely got a bit of that about you.
I love the
Marco
man.
Silva's got
With
a
those
bit about...
shiny shoes.
Give it
my
some
goodness.
welly when they're not on the telly.
Yeah,
that
quite. But he'll go into a shop.
Fulham are never on the telly.
He'll go into a shop, let's say a Sainsbury's.
Yes.
Right.
And there's...
You need milk.
Yeah,
you need eggs.
So there's 5 different types of baked beans. There's Heinz, there's HP, there's Branston.
Yeah.
Right.
There's Sainsbury's Own,
Yeah.
and there's Sainsbury's Basics, right? Now, I would go for probably Branston, right?
Right.
So it's a
Gotta go
poor
Heinz.
it's a poor analogy for me. But he is 100% just going for the most expensive ones.
Do you think?
Simple as that. He
How much-
just,
how much
he just
is-
wants the glamour.
How much does he spend on olive oil? Do you know what I mean? Because you can go
Probably a
cheap,
lot,
or you
probably
can
a
do
lot.
first pressings and stuff.
The gap between cheap olive oil and expensive olive oil is massive as
It's
well.
still a premium product as well.
Massive, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think he looks at Southampton at home and goes, there's nothing there for me.
No.
We'll put them out, we should win.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
not doing a lot of prep.
I'm
Yeah.
buying capers and Waitrose.
There you
Fuck
go.
off.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I think the Fulham's problem is that it's sometimes being a bit lethal in front of goal. I mean, the winning goal comes from Calvin Bassett, which was delightful because he's such a likeable guy.
It's a great moment for him.
Yeah, it really
He
was.
loved
The
it.
way he celebrated. He's a glorious. There's
He had a really, really tough start to his Fulham career as well.
Yeah, but I think he's done really well and he's cemented his place in that back four. There's a little tiny bit of David Luiz energy about him.
I see what you mean.
Which I like.
I know what you mean,
And
yeah.
he nearly scored the goal of the season at Chelsea. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it was so Campbell-esque, that run. I couldn't believe it. I was out with, but yeah, I really pleased for him. But that obviously that's it's a goal and you're allowed to, a defender is allowed to score a header from a corner. But I think it is that cutting edge that Fulham sort of lack a little bit, which is why sometimes when you are the chips are down and you just need something from somewhere. Sometimes that's where they lack, and that's where the inconsistencies are.
Sure.
But it's a win, and it's Fulham's quest for European football goes on.
So what you're saying is they need to probably try and get Haaland on loan for...
Haaland,
Yeah.
I'll
take it.
That's
Yeah.
unlikely.
Erling will give you a path out of this nightmare you're currently in, and as many lamb chops as you can
Yeah.
muster.
Do you know what I would love is maybe a little Mason Mount loan deal,
Oh,
a little Harry Maguire loan
have
deal.
you seen him play the last year or so? He's not going to get you a goal.
But
Maguire might. Maguire's more likely to get you a goal than
yeah, but you're
Mason
forgetting
is.
Marco Silva. He gets the best out of them.
That's true. Always nice to have a Marco in there. I tell you what, if they had got Rashi on loan, you'd have been loving it, wouldn't you?
Yes.
He'd have thrown himself around his bedroom, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Rashford one side and Grealish on the other.
You'd have turned yourself inside out because I've written that.
No, I wouldn't have. I'd have said, well, he's going to have to get past Alex Iwobi.
Yeah, you're going to have to knuckle down and work hard.
Would you like a Callum Wilson?
Yeah. By the way, I know we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but did anyone see Man United's 63-year-old goalkeeping coach wrap that free kick off the crossbar for Villa? Amazing for his
Oh,
age.
it was lovely seeing Rashford in full flow, wasn't it? Genuinely bloody lovely. But we're going to talk about Villa and Rashford and that pack of teams in the table.
That pack of jackals.
Yes, indeed, that are going for top 4 Europa League spots and so on. It could even be a Conference League spot, depending on who
Work
wins
really hard all season,
Yeah.
and your reward might well be a little spot in the Conference League.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
it's up for grabs now.
Yeah.
If Chelsea C team can win it at a canter, what could Fulham or Bournemouth A do?
Disrespectful to
next
West
season?
Ham
No, it's not.
because they won it,
Yeah, I know they did.
and then you and Declan Rice said that it makes David Moyes the best manager in their history.
I said one of. Declan went the best. I just remember.
Is the Conference League good or not?
It's there for the taking. All right. Any competition is good to win.
So does that make it good?
Yeah.
It's hardly Indiana Jones stealing that idol,
if
is
you're
it?
in the Algarve Cup, as Fulham were last summer, and you win it, it's good.
What was the Algarve Cup?
What do you think it is?
Why'd
Well,
you
a
ask
cup in
that?
the Algarve. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
there you go.
Is that stale bread roll in the middle of the table good or not?
you gonna eat
It's
that?
there for the taking.
Has it been in Pete's bin? Because if it has, get it out. Put a bit of water on that, stick it in the microwave, and the job's a good one.